Now, spend the night in the company of hurling legends Anthony Daly, Eddie Brennan, Maher and Dan Shanahan, as well as other sporting icons like Mickey Harte and Barry Geraghty, as Birr GAA Club presents Reeling in the Hurling Years on Thursday, the 13th of October. So it's this day next week in the County Arms Hotel. Throw-in is at 7:30. It's going to be emceed by Darragh Maloney. It promises to be a great night's entertainment as our star-studded panel go through their glittering careers and regale the audience with untold stories from the past. There's also going to be a special edition of A Question of Sport on the night that can't be missed, with all funds raised going towards the big redevelopment work in St Brendan's Park. Limited tickets are €20 each. They're on sale through Eventbrite, or you can contact Michael Verney on Twitter for more information. It's at ML Verney. And to talk about the event and much more, I'm delighted to say we're joined on the line by Offaly legend Johnny Pilkington. Johnny, good morning to you. How are you?
Morning, lads. Not too bad. In good form, yeah.
I'm sure nights like Reeling in the Hurling Years, not bad crack, I'd say.
Yeah, listen, we're looking forward to it, and there's a lot of good characters there that are in it that maybe hurling might take the back seat, and the other tales that weren't let out in the 90s will come to the fore, and it should be a long and enjoyable night.
Yeah, before we get to any of that, I do want to ask you about your own coaching career at the moment, because you're involved with the underage setup in Offaly at inter-county level, is that right?
Yeah, listen, I was brought in as a selector there with the Offaly Minors there this year. Listen, it was a marvellous, successful year, so it was. Prior to that, I've been involved, I've done the club circuit and that, but like this year was a very special year for us. Very special bunch of lads, and you know, there's a great outlook for Offaly Hurling coming from these lads and other lads that are coming through in the last two or 3 years.
Did this crew, did you know they were good? Like, had they had a good Tony Forrester or something? Did the whole county think, geez, there's something here?
Well, you know, I hadn't a clue about any of the lads when I was brought in. I was involved there last year with kind of the under 16, maybe in October, November, this time of the year. A friend of mine just asked me, listen, kind of come along. And then Leo asked me to come in. I hadn't a clue about them. They were talking about, listen, they lost Tony Forrester final to Tipperary, actually.
Right.
And I just dismissed that because under 14 doesn't make any difference to me at under 17 or minor level. But I would have to say we played Tipperary in a challenge match in probably February, and this was the moment that I just turned around and said to the lads, listen lads, we're in this to win the All-Ireland. You could see the enthusiasm, the work rate, and you know, even on that night it caught Tipperary off by surprise. It caught them off guard. And I think really from that night on, you know, things just kind of grew, and they just played their own game, and they were marvellous from then on.
Obviously, they end up having their hearts broken by Tip in the All-Ireland final in relatively controversial circumstances. I don't know if you make peace with that, a defeat like that ever as a mentor, because like for the rest of your life, there's always a what if and what have you. Like, I know that's incredibly difficult. Is there any part of your brain that's thinking, okay, we have to just use this now as fuel for the fire over the next couple of years to get as many of them through to the under-21 level and to get as many of them through to senior level?
You know, the gas thing about it is that Dan Ravenhill, the captain, he asked me just straight after the final, he says, did this ever happen to you, you know? And I had to think for a while, and I said, well, listen, we lost an under-21 All-Ireland final, and then, of course, we lost the big one, 95 as well. So, you know, I have no problems with Tipperary getting the last minute goal. There were things within our control that we slipped up on. There was things outside our control that we couldn't do anything about. And it really just, when it kind of comes down to everything, a mixture of everything, it's just the name was on Tipperary's cup. Tipperary's name was on the cup. But saying all that, I mean, the big thing I get out of it is that these lads, they had a phenomenal year in terms of, you played in an under 17 or a minor final in front of 27,000 people in Nolan Park against Tipperary. They played in Portlaoise, where, you know, the match was delayed. Again, the crowds were there. There was maybe 20,000 at that. That was unheard of. It's unnatural. And these lads, on each and every occasion, they stood up and they played the game and they performed. So, you know, from here on in, listen, Park, we lost, but we were part of a marvelous experience, which we were ourselves in 1989 when Tipperary won the under-21. Another fabulous occasion. So, just love the fact that you were part of that.
I know that Tipperary rivalry is fairly fresh down in your neck of the woods there as well, Johnny, no doubt. And like you referenced 89, like 87 was another one in minor level as well, where like when Ger talks about letting go of defeats like that, I know wasn't it Conall Bonner, I think, one of your former UCD colleagues, probably wasn't able to let that defeat for Tipperary go for quite some time.
Yeah, I've told this story before. Like, I mean, after that match, I mean, that game could have gone either way. You know, we just happened to get a goal with about 5 or 10 minutes to go, and that got us over the line. But I met Bonner there after the match, and I didn't know him, and he was sitting beside him, and all through the senior match of the All Ireland, he was going on about, oh, how did you beat us? How did you beat us? And I met him then in UCD a few years later. Oh, how did you beat us in this game? And then I met him on holidays 5 years ago. He says, still going on about the 87, you know. So, yeah, Conall had a problem with it, all right. But, it was, great rivalry.
We're talking here with Johnny Pilkington, and the reason about this is because there's a night coming up. Michael Verney has organised. It's called Reeling in the Hurling Years. It's on Thursday, the 13th of October, at the County Arms Hotel in Birr, and you can get details of it. It's on Eventbrite, or you can also get details on it from Michael Verney at ML Verney on Twitter. Brendan Maher, Barry Geraghty, Mickey Harte, Sarah Farrell, Michael Duignan, Johnny Pilkington, of course, Dan Shanahan, Eddie Brennan, Anthony Daly, and Brian Wheelahan, with, as I said, Darragh Maloney on the night as well. So it's going to be a decent night's entertainment, and as I said, all the money is going to the big redevelopment work in St Brendan's Park. Johnny, I'm really interested in your decision to get back involved with the county. Like, was it easy enough? You said you'd done the rounds in the club scene. Is it kind of, do you feel like it's time to get involved at county level?
No, it's just an opportunity that arose. I mean, I would have to say that I'd done 10 or 12 years of coaching between different clubs, our own club, and I've been heavily involved with our underage here in Birr as well, at under 8s and 10s. And basically, it's my kids are involved, so you get involved with the team. And I was really kind of just fed up and just kind of maybe burnt out from it. And I was intentionally going to kind of say, well, listen, I'm going to park that maybe for a while and see it. But Leo met me and he asked me, would I get involved with the minors? And I didn't really have any intentions, but it's amazing the way things work out. He just said to me, listen, I'll give you a shout on the Monday. This was a Friday or Saturday or something. And as it turned out, I think there was a bereavement on his side of things, and he never came back to me for a week, So what I said to Leo then, I said, listen, Leo, it gave me a lot of time to think. And we looked at the fixtures there with Offaly and that and said, well, listen, the chances this could be over in March, April, and, it'll definitely be over by the end of May. So it's only a 6-month thing. So that was my decision. He gave me that time to think about it. And I said, yeah, listen, we'll go for it. Now, I have to say that once I went in there, I mean, I don't really do an awful lot. So I kind of go in and talk to lads and, as a selector does, like Hughie Hannon is our hurling coach. He's doing all the work. Leo's doing all the work in behind the scenes and that. So, and we have our county board liaison officer, Martin Cashin. So to me, it was just kind of rocking up to training, having a look at training, and then just saying, listen, this lad's going well or that lad's going well. But I have to say, I really enjoyed it. And again, it was easy. It was easy for us because this bunch of lads just kind of drove it on themselves. I mean, they set the standard, and we'd have to give them we'd have to kind of give them a little bit of a slap every now and again just to kind of keep that effort up. And that, so that was really my role. I suppose on occasions we did draw on my experiences, and I suppose one of the remarkable ones was on the morning of the All Ireland. We were leaving from the Faithful Fields, and I said, listen, I'm going to bring them into the room in the Faithful Fields, and in the room you have the pictures of all the Offaly winning teams. And I went through each and Offaly winning team, and I went through the 82 football and the 81 hurling and the 82 football and, you know, the 94 team and the 86. I finished up, I think, with the 86 minor team or whatever. And on each occasion, you know, Offaly had won by a last minute goal or had a big comeback, you know. So my inspirational speech actually backfired on me at the days. We were rocked by our own medicine, I suppose, was the thing. So I don't think they'll be asking me to do it again.
At least you tried, Johnny. At least you tried.
We tried. We tried.
I remember, like, even you speaking before that minor final last year, and I think, like, you were referencing the decreasing standard of the club game in Offaly and how that's probably linked to the lack of success at intercounty level. I think the word you used to describe Offaly intercounty hurling over the last 20 years was dismal. Like, what's your feeling on where Offaly is at the moment?
You know, Johnny Kelly has a 3-year stint, and I just have a feeling that it maybe in 3 years' time, I don't think we will be too much further on. Just for the thing that the work rate, the enthusiasm and that over the last 3 and 4 years on the field, that tracking back, that kind of simple stuff hasn't been there to the level that's required. Now, I don't want to go on about the minors, you know, I was thinking, but this is what they brought to the game. And it wasn't, we haven't had an awful lot of fabulous hurlers down through the years that are great ball players, but it's what players do off the ball and what they do and where they're positioned. And that was the key. And that has been lacking in Offaly, that we've been great when we're on the ball, but we're not so good off it. So it's going to be tough for Johnny Kelly to try and bring in that kind of closing down, that work rate, to put pressure on the opposition and to the level that it needs to be at. So I think, you know, what Johnny can do is maybe set a standard there for the next 3 years. And with these minors and these under 20s that are coming on, there's 2 or 3 that they'll inspire to kind of do more of the raw material on the field, more so than the you know, the lovely strike, the lovely point, the lovely ball playing. So it's I think it's going to be a stagnant maybe 3 years. Obviously Johnny will want to we're looking to get out of the Joe McDonough. We're under no illusions here that we're capable of getting out of the Joe McDonough. How capable we are of sitting at the top table for a long period of time that's another question. Now, we do have confidence in these young lads, but as you know, young lads, you know, 2 or 3 of these could go and that could disperse the whole lot.
Yeah, it really is a very tenuous thing. Like, you need another minor team and another minor team, and, you know, that's the way that you can build on those foundations. I did want to, you mentioned the crowds at the game, right? A big controversy about on All-Ireland final day, there's no minor crowd, and so everybody doesn't get in early. But I don't know, would you trade a full house at Nolan Park for a tinny, empty Croke Park with the Seagulls are the soundtrack to the All-Ireland minor final? Which would you prefer, having experienced both now?
Yeah, it's. I would have naturally have said, listen, give me Nolan Park there all day, you know. But the thing about it is that Offaly were in Nolan Park, and Offaly brought a huge crowd to Nolan Park, and Tipperary, came there as well. So it's, you know, the minor final isn't going to be played in front of 27,000 every year. It's, you know, if you had a Cork, Kilkenny, Tipperary, Galway kind of game, there's probably going to be 5,000 or 6,000 at it. So in that, you know, you could turn around and say, listen, play it before an All-Ireland final. But in terms of atmosphere, if you can get the crowds there, I think it's probably better atmosphere in terms of, even if you can get 10,000 into a Portlaoise or into Nolan Park, it's a hell of a lot better than the 10,000 on at the start in Croke Park. Saying all that, All-Ireland final day, the senior day, is a very, very big day and that would heighten, that gives you a greater sense that you're part of that whole day, and it's a special feeling as well. The majority of people will actually come in, but you'll get that last 20 minutes there, and if the match is tight, which it had been in a few of our minor finals, all of a sudden the crowd are standing up and they're looking, and the neutrals maybe are cheering for the underdog, so it has its own kind of atmosphere there as well.
Okay, so you're definitely on the fence there with that one.
I'm on the fence, yeah.
Fair enough. Maybe we need another few years to make our mind up entirely about it. Just the point you made as well about the season being so short from a minor perspective, it does feel like it's maybe better for the kids at under 17 to be able to go back and have the rest of their school year and their summer off, or to go back and play with the clubs, as opposed to sticking all the way through to September and never quite getting the release that your team might have had. One last thing then, the under 17 age grade, is that working, or is that, because there's definitely a lot of chatter that maybe the under 17 isn't really the right age, and that actually under 18 we should go back to that. What's your view on that?
Again, I think there's too much talk. Well, not too much talk, but obviously the talk is there. I don't see an awful difference in whether you go to 17 or 18. My understanding was we went to the 18 or came down to the 17 to avoid kind of the leaving cert, which is a fairly good idea. Whether it goes up to 18 or not, I don't see it making that much of a difference really. The different age groups and that. There is obviously, once you go on to 18, you're a year ahead. You're here in terms of development and that. I don't think it makes an awful lot of difference really, because, it's 17 or 18 coming up into the senior ranks. And I think this is the issue more probably than the minor grade being 17 or 18, is the 17-year-old playing under 20. And there's a 3-year difference there or whatever, and different stages of life. So maybe that's an issue in terms of, listen, let's get them a little bit more bigger, in terms of naturally bigger, and as well as the strength and conditioning to be able for that level. But to be honest with you, I didn't see anything this year in terms of a 17-year-old age group versus our minor time in our time.
Okay.
Can I just ask you, Johnny, I think you're like, I was thinking back to different Lake Regale episodes when a few months ago when Desi Farrell announced that Mannion and McCaffrey were coming back into the Dublin setup, and he so nonchalantly kind of dropped it into an interview, and that's his prerogative. I'm not saying Desi doesn't have a personality. I'm just saying that's, I guess, the way that things have been done in Dublin the last few years. It struck me, there was a line, and I think it was around your own Lake Regale episode where Michael Moynihan in the Irish Examiner talked about yourself and personalities in the GAA, and he said you were the last free spirit before the erosion of personality. Like, do you think personalities are something missing from the game at the moment? Like, we see a lot of Sherlockets in interviews, and we're kind of missing that little bit of a spark that maybe we used to have, and you certainly brought to the table back in the day.
Yeah, well, that kind of spark is probably what you refer back to now as immaturity, so it was. But I suppose, managers now, they have a rein on the thing, and it's a pity. There's definitely, there's definitely characters within the game that we don't seem to be getting out of it. And, we know those characters are there, I suppose the Kilkenny team of the 2000s, and a marvellous team that it was, but it was all the same mantra, they were afraid, that if they didn't go training, listen, they wouldn't get into team and all that. And that's grand coming from someone on the fringes, but when your top players are saying it, they just seem to be towing the line or that, and it's continued on that way. I think managers are trying to, cross all their T's and dot all their I's and make sure there's nothing said. So I don't know how you're going to get around it. I suppose the other side of that is the way fitness has gone as well, that it's a funny one, that we have professional rugby players, professional soccer players that have a social life in this world, and obviously our GAA players can't do anything for 6 months, or and it's a bit off-putting, but that's the way the game has gone, and unfortunately for the media and that, you'll find there that you're going to have to wait for their careers to be over before you'll see their true characters and that.
Just a final one for me, Johnny. You talked about taking the young lads in to look at some of the photos of the old Offaly teams. Like another fellow county man who's done great things, and I know you're a bit of a golfer. I think I'm right in saying yourself at the minute. So Shane Lowry is someone who really, we shouldn't be surprised at what he's been doing over the last number of years, because he continues to do it. But again, another man who's put your county on the map and probably inspired a lot of those young lads as well.
Yeah, listen, Shane has been marvellous, and again, steeped in the tradition of Offaly GAA with all the Lowrys and that. He's never been shy on the international stage, to show that Offaly jersey and that. And, the rumour had it that, and well, I don't think it was a rumour, but on All-Ireland final day, he was putting on the Offaly jersey to go down the 17th or the 18th driveway, or 18th fairway on whatever tournament he was playing. I don't know what it was. And we were 2 points up at the time. And I think he got to the 18th tee box. And the caddy just gave him a quick nod, no, last minute goal. So he put the jersey back in the bag. But he's been marvellous in terms of, he's after coming on board. And, I don't know what his talkings were with JP McManus in terms of how JP has invested money in Limerick. But his money is going to be a major help kind of coming through. Plus, he'll have the experience of a management team there. Now, the gas thing about Shane has been doing all that, but that's part of, say, the Faithful Fields project that's over there, and that has been a massive success. I think it just brings a major spirit to, you have the minors going in there and they're training with the under-20s, they see the Offaly senior footballers, see the Offaly senior hurlers, they see the whole professional outfit on it. So, everything is combining, with year-long work in terms of fundraising and getting facilities right. That is all a major help. And maybe, I'm just saying maybe these are the green shoots that can bring Offaly back up to that next level.
Yeah, no doubt. Johnny, great stuff. Great to have you on. Thanks a million for talking to us. Have a great night. Cheers.
No problem. Thanks a million, lads.
That's Johnny Pilkington, who's part of that fundraiser this day next week. And as I said, at ML Verney on Twitter for tickets for it.